Hi, everyone. My name is Brianna West. I'm the advocate here at Milwaukee Jewish Family Services. Thank you all for being here today and taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. Just to let you know, this is being recorded, so you're welcome to take yourself off camera. And also, if you would please just mute your microphone throughout, I would appreciate that. And I'm just going to jump right in with our presentation. I have Allison Hayden here today from the JCRC. She's the Israel and JCRC Program Associate. And I also have Ann David here today. She's the Director of Clinical Services at JFS and also a therapist. And she'll be helping with talking about the effects of hate crimes on the psyche, the trauma effects. I'm here to talk to you today about hate crimes and anti-Semitism. My role in JFS is to support and advocate for people who have been victims of crimes. So usually for the most part, it's domestic violence and sexual assault, but I do work with Allison to help support people who have been victims of hate crimes and anti-Semitism. So I'm going to be on the agenda today. I'm going to talk about the definitions of hate crimes and anti-Semitism and go over some of the statistics from the JCRC's 2020 anti-Semitism audits, and also talk about their 2019 findings and compare them. I'm going to go over some national statistics from the ADL and also have a video to show you and go over some of the general reactions victims have when they've suffered a hate crime, and then talk about what we can do as a community to promote safety and to support each other, because this is a collective problem. We could all potentially be victims of hate crimes and anti-Semitism. I think for the most part, we probably all have our own individual story of something that's happened to us throughout our life. So it's really about just creating more unity between each other. And then I'll talk about how to report the crime if a hate crime happens to you, and then my role as an advocate, and then we'll have time at the end for questions and answers, and you're also welcome to put your question in the chat box. A hate crime is a crime motivated by someone's bias against someone's race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or gender identity. And these are brutal crimes like murder, arson, assault, stalking. But the difference is it's based on someone's prejudice, and anti-Semitism feeds into that. Or fits into that because it's expressed hatred towards Jews. It could manifest in many different ways, and it's could be expressed through physical assault, graffiti. It could be expressed through threats or stalking, and it's based on someone's hatred for Jewish people. So I'll let Allison take over from here. She's from JCRC, so take it away.
Brianna, like you said, so the JCRC is the Jewish Community Relations Council of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation. As you said here, our mission is to speak as the representatives of the Jewish community on issues of public affairs and public policies by convening and mobilizing the Jewish community through education, advocacy, social justice, and support for Israel. Many of the things we do include building alliances, giving people tools to work together and get to know each other, and education. And we do this through a lot of partnerships within the greater Milwaukee community. So if you want to, so the JCRC has been collecting incidents for our anti-Semitism audit since 2011. We strive to be accurate and consistent with our reporting, and our audit is of the entire state of Wisconsin. So that includes people, places, and incidents relating to Wisconsin. We do end up with a greater number from the Milwaukee area, simply that's because where we're based, but we do have reports from all over. Every year we evaluate these trends so we can compare them to previous years and share them with the community as well as national organizations such as the ADL. And these trends allow us to get a feel for the state of anti-Semitism and how it's affecting parts of our community, for example, the schools. We then use this information to focus our educational and community work. And it just, in general, compiling this audit is our way to explain to both our community, but also the greater Wisconsin community what it's like to be Jewish here, and to provide this information to organizations and community partners, as well as law enforcement, that help our community decide where and how to focus our energies and resources to raise awareness and education.
Thank you so much, Allison, for all that info. That was very well said. So I'll just go right into the most recent findings, the trends that JCRC has found based on the reports. So there's been a 36% increase in reported anti-Semitic incidents in 2020, and at least people have been coming forward to reports. That's so important. And anti-Semitism can be expressed in multiple different ways. So in terms of expression, these verbal assaults, in 2020 there was 62 incidences of that, and that was up by 34 from 34 in 2019. So there's an 82% increase. And the audit mentioned one example of in a Zoom session in high school for high school history class, a student said, "I hate Jews," and then someone went and reported that to the JCRC. There's been 12 instances in 2021 through hate group activity. It's a 20% increase from 2019. And 10 of those incidents were based in white supremacist ideology. In terms of conspiracy theories, as a total, out of all the instances that were reported, 38% were of conspiracy theories. For example, it could be that Jews control banks, Jews control the media, Jews are global power, and Jews are puppet masters. And so you see this sort of language on social media and through articles in person. It's just very widespread. And it's a dangerous sort of rhetoric because, it's based in lies. And so then there was a 61% increase in pejorative references to Israel and Zionism in an anti-Semitic context. The JCRC recognizes that people can have legitimate criticisms of Israel and Zionism, but not all anti-Israel activity is anti-Semitic, but it crosses the line when all Jews are held responsible for the actions of Israel. And this is where they set their boundary. And then there was a 12% increase in Holocaust, Nazi, and Hitler references. So that could be Holocaust denial, comparing mask mandates to the Holocaust, minimizing the Holocaust. It could be lies about Hitler. And you see this through social media, through schools, articles, videos. Could be on YouTube comments, Facebook comments. So social media activity has increased by 100%, and largely that's due to COVID and everyone being at home. And if they can't express in person, they're going to express themselves online, which is, it's unfortunate just because you can, reread it and reread it. It's very pervasive, makes the internet this hostile place. And then the middle school activity, 71% decrease, but it's still pervasive, it's still out there. So I'll get more into that. And here is the audit, if you'd like to check that out. the 2019 trends have been slightly different numbers, but the same overall. There's still Holocaust denial on social media. There was 24 instances of vandalism in Wisconsin, mainly swastikas. For example, there was a sign hanged up by college students and their off-campus housing saying "No liberals, Jews, Muslims, queers are among it," and a large flag with a swastika on it. And this makes, this makes college a hostile place. You think you're welcome. You think you're going to come in and mind your own business and get an education. And college is a place where, you're supposed to be educated and you can learn history and, challenge your prejudices, challenge your biases, learn things you've never learned before. And it's just unfortunate that there's this hostile environment where if you're Jewish or if you're queer or Muslim, you feel like a target on campus, and it's just it's separated people. People feel like, oh, that's the other, or that's someone who's not welcome or not accepted, and that alone can kind of taint your college experience. And in this scenario, you may have to get this instance, you may have to get the administration involved, the school involved. So it's this big process of what hate, can hate expressed really can allow, really taints your college experience and make you have to deal with something that you'd rather would not want to deal with. And then 20% of instances were conspiracy theories. So the same thing of Jewish power, control of banks. It shows just how these viewpoints or these ideologies really just don't get dismantled. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done to really break these sort of conspiracy theories down. And that's where education comes in, outreach. And then 2019, there was 40 direct personal acts of anti-Semitism. And these acts were bolder, more open, more personal, and more threatening. So people feel very entitled to do this, and they're not afraid to do it. And that's the intensity of it is something that, since it's increasing, it's people could become more fearful in society.
Exploiting fear is a more effective wedge than a sustained waving of a swastika flag.
For many Jews in America, a scary new reality. Overt anti-Semitism is surfacing more often online and in real life.
More than 100 headstones were found vandalized at a Jewish cemetery in Missouri.
A rash of bomb threats against Jewish organizations have some demanding action this morning.
According to the Anti-Defamation League, anti-Semitic incidents surged between 2016 and 2017, mostly in the form of harassment and vandalism.
We have a disturbing number of people who subscribe to conspiracy theories and who embrace the most hardened prejudiced views.
Brian Levin is the director at the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism. He says there was an alt-right insurgency after President Obama was elected. That's far-right ideology that often advocates white nationalist and anti-Semitic views. Such views gained traction during the 2016 presidential campaign.
We saw internet trolling, particularly directed at journalists, was primarily focused on a small number of Jews. What I think is happening is those who are anti-Semitic feel more emboldened. When we look at a lot of the hate crimes and a lot of the white nationalist rallies that are going on, they're occurring in progressive places like universities and large, diverse, densely populated cities.
You will not replace us. You will not replace us.
Experts tracking hate speech say the current political and digital media climate has allowed anti-Jewish rhetoric and imagery to spread into the mainstream.
They were chanting Nazi chants from the 1930s, blood and soil, etc. Experiences taught us, if you allow a lie to be repeated over and over and over again, it moves the goalposts about what's acceptable and what is even, mainstream.
In the age of fake news and foreign adversaries using propaganda to influence elections, there's growing calls for social media platforms and tech giants to act.
It's also a wake-up call to everyone else, Republicans, Democrats, everybody else in between, that, yeah, there are a very small group of people who've learned how to leverage the entire system and put themselves right in the middle of our society.
That's pretty concerning. People feel so emboldened, and it is pervasive in mainstream society. And it's the ultimate paradox that college is a place where you can go and learn anything, history, sociology, the law, and yet people come in with these very ignorant, bias-based ideas, and then they go and act on them. Allison, do you have anything else to add about maybe the video?
I mean, I could give a whole presentation on just how social media has enabled the spread of disinformation that then leads into extremist and anti-Semitic ideals. But it's just the idea that, especially in the past year when most of us have been sitting at home online, we've seen that uptick in people sharing one post or liking one post that was just on the fringe of, like, not quite anti-Semitic, and then the algorithms and other further posts start showing up, and it's just a slippery slope that they then will start to see more of that comments and content, and then they'll also continue to like and play into that, especially in times of insecurity and when they're scared and looking for an outlet. They really play into a lot of conspiracy theories to support their concerns or their fears. And unfortunately, anti-Semitism, being one of the oldest hates, is a framework that's well built in and doesn't take very long for people to fall into believing.
Right, that's absolutely spot on. Yeah, when people just like a Facebook comment, algorithm takes over, and then people start believing mostly what they hear and what they're exposed to, and then they forget to really challenge what they're reading and seeing, and it becomes, jump on the bandwagon of all of my, maybe all of my friends think this way, and I need to fit in and think this way. So it's definitely dangerous, like you said. So these are some national statistics from the ADL. This is, where does anti-Semitism play out, and what location, and what kinds, and what form does it take? In business establishments, you see harassment, vandalism, assaults. And I think I can give you a little bit better breakdown. And there's 154 instances of harassment, and then 98 instances of vandalism and 5 assaults. So, you imagine you're just minding your own business, and you see someone come in and trash your store. It makes you feel nervous as a store owner, and it's a threat to their income and their profit, and just their overall feeling of they want to serve the community. They want to, whatever kind of shop it is, they want to bond with their community, and then someone comes in and could vandalize your whole store. It's just really unfortunate. In public areas, there was 42 assaults, 326 instances of vandalism, and 287 instances of harassment. So if you're just walking down the streets, minding your own business, I mean, that's where you start feeling on guard. And, you know, you kind of start debating, should I wear my kippah in the grocery store? Will I still feel safe? And I want to express my Judaism and my culture and my religion, and yet I can't do so. So you have to weigh kind of your safety level. And it's unfortunate that we have to make those choices in day-to-day life. In non-Jewish schools, 184 instances of harassment, 220 vandalism, and 7 assaults. And you know, this just calls for more education with history and more, you know, time to have open communication about cultures and religions, and to learn all about, you know, all the religions, and, you know, focus education more on tolerance and acceptance. And I can get more into that. And then at Jewish institution schools, 171 instances of harassment, 60 vandalism, and 3 assaults. And if this is even happening in a Jewish school, usually there's a lot of security in Jewish day schools, and you know, and it's still pervasive. It's still coming into schools, where school really should be a safe place for kids, where they can question the world and start asking those big questions. And outside hate really is, I mean, it's unfortunate. And then college and universities, 97 instances of harassment and 89 instances of vandalism. You can think of, you know, a swastika on a college wall or dorm, or, you know, in the cafeteria or wherever, just because college is very anonymous, it's very big, and, you know, people can just get away with stuff like that. And further on, instances in non-Jewish K through 12 schools. There were 411 instances in 2019. It's up from 344 in 2018, but down by from 457 in 2017. But this just really shows that, you know, hate starts early, and as we mature and go from young adults to adults, you start learning about the Holocaust in middle school, and it's just, you start learning about Black history and other really important, like, civil justice movements. And if prejudice is, you know, kind of locking people in, it's going to take longer to kind of unravel all that in someone's mind. You know, as we become bigger thinkers, you know, we just layer that hate on top of hate, and it'll be harder to disseminate that. So general victims' reactions to a hate crime. I mean, first, it could be shock. I can give my personal experience. My instance with anti-Semitism. I haven't been a victim of a hate crime, but I grew up in Atlanta, and one time I went to a sports camp for 7 days at a college, and I was only like 10 or 11, and I had a roommate. She was my age too, and I've never met her, and she came into the room and asked me what religion I am, and I thought that was strange because I didn't think to ask her what religion she was. And I was already in Jewish day school and completely immersed in Jewish culture. And she said, you know, what religion are you? And I said, oh, I'm Jewish. And I was like, I guess she asked me, so I guess I'll ask her. And I said, what religion are you? And she said she's Baptist. And then she said, oh, you're Jewish. She said, oh, Hitler was a Jew. He's one of you. And so that was my first, you know, I was confused. And that's something, you know, that's, you know, if you're confused, you really, you know, it's unfortunate. I was a kid, so I didn't know to, you know, go to an adult or something. It was just kind of tainted the whole experience because I had to be her roommate for 7 days and she wouldn't talk to me or look at me or anything. And there's just a lot of hatred on her face, and she was only 10 or 11. So it really starts early, and it's so important to have non-Jewish friends at the same time, to really educate each other on each other's, faith-based religion ideas. And so besides shock and confusion, sense of fear, anxiety, if you have a experience at a college or, from your neighbor or something, and it hits really close to home, then you're going to have that fear while you're walking down the street. It could be global fear. It could be something that just wearing a kippah could, cause you to have anxiety, just because this is so pervasive in our society. You could feel angry about it. You could feel hopeless because you don't want to give up your faith. You can't help where you're from. You can't help your ethnicity, and there's just a lot of work that needs to be done in society. So there could be a sense of hopelessness, PTSD. It doesn't. You could take one comment to have PTSD. It doesn't. People think maybe you have to be assaulted or physically assaulted. It could be chronic bullying. It could be embarrassment in public. Anything could really give you trauma. And then feelings of uncertainty within your own community, not knowing where to turn to. So that's something that I want to talk to you all about resources out there. And yeah, Anna, do you have anything else to add?
No, that was a good coverage of different just normative responses to stress or trauma following a hate crime.
Okay, so we'll move on. So what can we do as a community? There's a program through education called Hours Against Hate, and they're an educational program. They bring what they call lunch hours to students and to people in the workforce, and it's about promoting tolerance. You sit with someone who is different race, religion, sexual orientation, gender, and you just really start having a conversation with them and opening up about your life, and it's a way to really fight your biases and the stereotypes in your head, and you can learn something. You can learn that our differences are unique, and you're also more alike than different, and it's not bad to be different, and really start appreciating people's cultures and people's religions, and just to lower that hate is really good initiative that Federation has. And then also invite a non-Jewish friend to a Jewish event. I had roommates from China, and they were all different parts of China, and I invited them to a Hillel event for Shabbat, and that was really nice. They had challah for the first time. They liked the food, and then in return, they invited me to their Chinese New Year, and so we had the whole dinner, and everything is, I think, an easy way to promote tolerance and open people's eyes is to try each other's food. And then lean on your community. There's Hillel Milwaukee for college students. They get together every Friday for Shabbat. They do holidays together. There's Chabad. They're very open to all sects of Judaism, and they always welcome you to their table, especially if you're maybe a converted Jew or someone who is just discovering their Jewish identity. That would be, they're very welcoming. It'd be a good place to start. And then the Wisconsin Genocide Education requirement that just passed, that requires at least one day in middle school and high school where they discuss the Holocaust. And so that's very important. I mean, if that's completely, then we're behind with the times with educating people. about the Holocaust. And then just to speak out against hate. If you see something on Facebook, report it. Get together with your friends, make Judaism public, and you could wear your Star of David, like anything that is kind of fights this hate, and kind of being like loud and proud. And here's some resources. The Holocaust Education Resource Center, they offer, field, like for middle school kids, they offer field trips to the Jewish Museum. You can, as an adult or anyone really, can go see Holocaust survivors speak. And unfortunately, we're losing that generation. So it's, time is now. And just to immerse yourself in these cultures is, you get curious about people's religion and experience in life is most important. So how to reach out if you're a victim of a crime. First we urge you to make a police report as soon as you can. And then here's the form for the JCRC. And then you can also call Allison, you can call me, and it is so important for you to come forward. There should be, no shame, because it's a collective experience. What we're up against, really, and we're just here to help you. So here's so to further explain my role, I offer like emotional support, crisis counseling. I'm here just to listen. If you just want to talk, you don't want anything else, try to process the crime. And I could also help you get set up with therapists under our Victims of Crime program. And therapy is free in that case if you've been a victim of a crime. Safety planning sounds simple, but it's very helpful to people. Say their neighbor assaulted them or threatening them, we would come up with the best solution to help them. Together we would come up with the best solution to help them, feel as safe as possible, whether that's changing the locks on your doors, switching your daily schedule, having like a buddy to go out and do errands with until things kind of quiet down. So it's very client-based, and I'm here to help you with like anything you need. So if you know anyone who has gone through a hate crime, you can always refer them to me or to Allison. And also just to find your Jewish network, so you have that cushion of, in case something does happen to you in society, like in your day-to-day life, you have your Jewish friends and your non-Jewish friends too, who can support you. Those interfaith alliances are so important. And at the end of the day, I can also help you find a lawyer if you want to submit, to press charges. So here is my contact information. And you can get in contact with Ari Friedman, Director of Security and Community Properties, because he always likes to know, where these hate crimes are happening, to keep track of them in Wisconsin. And then there's hotlines you can also go to. There's my email, Allison's email, and I'll take any questions anyone has. Thank you for listening.